What's up YouTube? This is Slaan here from Northern Lan, and today we are back into Project Slaanhatten for the first look at what's been going on since Alpha 14. Now, it's been quite a while since we've seen an update to the project itself. Other than converting the hub over into Alpha 14, there's been little to no work done on it. So for those of you who are actually using it in 14, I do apologise for all the crazy block rotations and things like the curbs that are all a bit knacked up in some of the prefabs. But by the time this release eventually gets out, hopefully I will have nailed down about 99% of all those little malfunctions that have popped up. So what I've basically decided to do is I've been working the past few weeks, not massive amounts of time, but I have spent a little while there looking at the hub and what I was going to do next. And since the city blocks that were released in Alpha 14 are, I don't think they're the main reason that we get bad performance in the city, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't think they were a bit of a contributing factor. And the hub itself, because the density in the layout of the city is 100% custom, it's performance-wise, it's working a hell of a lot better than what the vanilla cities are doing. If I just quickly pop the frames counter on there, and I know I've done this the last time, but if I have a quick look at the video settings, the main change is the view distance. View distance up to 11 just does crazy things to me frames at the minute. 7, as you'll see when we're flying around in just a second, it's a comfortable middle. I don't like having it on anything but max, but I predominantly play on PvP and I constantly panic that someone's going to shoot us before I even see them, so you know, it's something to be worked on, but there's not a huge amount we can do about that at the minute. But like I say, performance within the hub itself, I'll leave the FPS counter on there, but performance in the hub itself is a hell of a lot better than what we're getting in the vanilla cities at the moment. So, since Alpha 14 came out, the first thing I'd done was to convert the vanilla city blocks over, change the whole layout and all that sort of things, and the sewers is something that I'd had on the cards for a while, for the project itself, and we've had this massive open sewer here for quite some time now, and to be perfectly honest, other than the water sections over in the river that have nothing in them, these are some of the most boring parts of the hub that you're likely to see. Now, what we can see on the side here is obviously something new, but what I'm going to do is start back where I was just a second ago and take you through it one pace at a time. So what we're basically looking at now, this is all old school, but as we enter the tunnel we can see the first iteration of the sewers. Now we've got a slightly different design to what you would see in the vanilla city blocks, but like I mentioned, in the custom hub you have absolute freedom over how you want to do things, how you want to lay things out. I don't have to worry about dodgy prefabs clipping into this. Everything that I place down will be with this in mind. So I wanted to get the storm drains and the manholes and all the jizzy stuff that we've got going on in the vanilla city converted and ported over into the hub somehow. So what we're looking at is the first basic version of the sewer tunnel. So these little red pipes kinda, I couldn't do with them what I originally intended, and that was to have maybe to have the sewer is all done out in the tunnels like this. But what I figured when I started actually building is it was a lot easier and a lot better, to be honest, to build the natural sort of tunnels and stuff like that, and then just work around these and see what I can do with them. So the way I see it now is, if there was ever some terrible weather, you've got a bit of a storm going on, or a hurricane if you're American, and the city starts to flood, naturally the sewers would fill up, and these are kind of just like an emergency overflow. So, you know, the water would just spill out into the open subway and get dredged off into the river. But these tunnels going up to the north are very basic. I'll just stick my little lamp on. There's nothing in these at the moment, and like I say, I'm still largely in the planning phase for the tunnels themselves, but I do have quite a substantial stretch done. I've laid approximately 5 or 6 kilometres worth of tunnels so far, and these little things here are just the start of all the daft little features that you'll see. So we've got a little bit of a control room going on here, and the ladders themselves take you straight up into the street. Now, one thing I'm not very happy about at the minute is the seamless material. We actually have a layer of asphalt there, and you can climb down into these things, but you kind of climb back out of them because of this little diamond shape. So I think further down the line I'll probably look at getting some proper blocks around these entrances, and then have a first little dabble with the densities to see if I can get them matched up on all nice and smooth, nice and seamless there. Now, I've done that plenty of times by mistake, playing around with the densities, so I'm sure when I set my mind to it I should be able to set something up properly. But if we take a little fly down here, there's nothing really too different to what you would normally expect if you've seen the new version of the tunnels. Cut the ladders out of the storm drains. Honestly don't think anybody smashes these curbs open and uses them to get into the sewer system anyway, but you know, the gaps in the drains themselves are still there for aesthetic purposes, and if you really wanted to make this your little entrance into the sewer system, you can still place your ladder in there. So we come further along. The intention is, as always, to make this all mini bike compatible, and there's actually 2 blocks of water which is bugging the bikes out completely, so I'm going to have to skim a layer off there, so the water might not be as deep the next time you actually see it. But like I say, that with the hub itself, the idea is to open as many options for travelling around as possible, while keeping it looking a bit more realistic. And I love what's going on with the light and the shadows down here. It's a lot more dark and dreary, and when you've got some zombies running around, the jump frights are going to be absolutely crazy. And here we are at the end of the sewer system itself. So that was the basic east and west tunnel. This is the main sort of theme I'm going to run with under the main roads. When we start going north and south, these are going to get a little bit skinnier, but if we look on the map, the idea is to basically get the downtown area all tunnelled out with the water system, and then what I'll probably do is utilise some kind of dry tunnels, very similar to what you see in the upper levels of the city block sewers, where there's not going to be any water, but we'll have a lot more make sense sort of entrances and connections that you won't get typically in the vanilla cities, because in the vanilla city we are basically making a pattern that'll fit against itself on every side, so that you can travel between city block to city block, whereas, as I keep mentioning, in the custom hub, if I want to make a tunnel that shoots off this way and then have it connecting to this prefab here, then I can build that in and that'll work. Nothing will interfere with it. The prefab will always be in that spot, the tunnel will always be in this spot. So for a little bit, or in some cases a lot more effort, you get a lot more bang for your buck. So that's the basic tunnel system. Now, the other main things that I've been working on, if we come back into the open sewer, because like I said earlier on, a big concern that I have at the minute is these are just large empty areas, lots of open space. Now, I do have plans, and I'll be able to incorporate a few more other systems into it, but you know, I'm very open to ideas or suggestions that people might have on how to fill this area out or what to do with it, because it is very plain and bland. If I just pop the lights on. So this was the first new addition to the open sewer. Like I say, I'm doing everything I can outside of just filling it full of shite to sort of to break this empty space up, and to try and do it with things that you might expect to actually see in there. So what we have here is just a very simple little floodgate. I'm really loving the little cables that we have now. Simple things please, simple minds I suppose, but it's definitely one of my more favourite blocks that they've added in Alpha 14. But like I say, it's just a very simple sort of thing. It connects via the underwater tunnel there. And if you fall down in here, you're knackered because you're going to have to smash your way out. But that might be something that I'll look at a little bit later on. But it's not finished, it's still a work in progress. But you know, I'm hoping you can start to see what's happening now, in that we're trying to fill the spaces up and utilise fully everything that we've got, as opposed to just stretching the hub out as big as it'll go. So the aforementioned block changes that I was talking about, for some reason a lot of the curbs that have been laid into the hut have been converted into these little brick pointy things. So I've fixed a lot of them around these sorts of areas, but there's a lot of spots in the hub itself that has a great need of a little bit of changing. So as I'm doing the tunnels, when I get a little bit bored of being underground, I've been popping back up and filling like little bits of park area and a tree house by a certain famous prefab builder just loitering around there. And it's little spaces like this that we're coming across that once the basic foundations of the tunnels have been set, then what I could probably do, what I will be doing, is connecting various prefabs into the system somehow. But little empty areas like this, I can make little, maybe actually there's a spot just over here that's just behind these buildings here. It's like a little courtyard, and this is just a good example of how we can utilise all these tiny gaps, because it's quite a big open sidewalk area. And what I was thinking is an American style storm drain. Very simple affair, just the railings on the top, maybe some access ladders or something like that, and we'll come down to about this height, and you can see where the tunnel ends for now. But we'll connect it up into the main tunnel somehow. And if you can imagine a half a dozen areas like that scattered around the city, it means that as you enter the system itself, it's not going to be like the vanilla city where you're going to have this little maze grid like pattern that goes everywhere. You're going to have very specific tunnels, very specific things going on. If you see what looks to be like a water utility plant, then you know, chances are I'm going to try and get it connected to the water utilities where it should be. And the little details like that, I think, is what's going to help pull the hub together into something that's, instead of it just being a giant custom prefab, it's really going to start taking on a look and a feel of its own. And here we are back on the northern side of downtown, and you can see again we've got the east and west tunnels down there. I had a little bit of an issue with the sidewalks here, not matching up with the roads after I copy and pasted. You can see the tunnel goes straight up, but I had to adjust that slightly so that we've still got that little rampiness, because that's probably one of my favourite things, you know, just the way that it doesn't stick to the concrete blocks and it makes a bit of space for the water to flow down there. I just think it looks really cool. But like I say, the main idea is to get the downtown area all fleshed out first. So now that we've had a little sneak peek at the sewer system and what's going on, like I was saying just before, as I've been going, I've been trying to fill little spaces up with bits and bobs, and I'm starting to lay some new prefabs down. And one of the areas that's just cropped up out of nowhere is this lovely little spot here. So as you can see, the frames are dropping slightly as we get a couple of dense buildings in there, but there's nothing too bad really. I did purge a lot of the lights in both these buildings. These are both the new apartments that were added into the combo pack at some point in 14, I do believe, by Magoli. And the centrepiece is the city park made by Spider. Both these prefabs are available in the combo pack. This is just a good example of how you can use the combo pack prefabs themselves to make something that you wouldn't typically see within the game. I mean, we've only got 3 back-to-back prefabs. It's nothing particularly special, but I think once the walls are completed and we've got a little bit of a car park or something going on pretty nearby, it starts to resemble what I think is kind of like an American project, like a housing project kind of thing. So this is not necessarily where the poor people are going to live, but you know, it's cheap and nasty block housing for those who need it, I should say. But like that's pretty much everything that I've added recent. I mean, I say that like it hasn't been a lot of work. I've put a good 30 hours, I think, into it so far. But once the foundations of the tunnels set, I mean, none of the storm drains or anything have been done on these north-south tunnels. So there's still a little bit of work to be done there. But it's coming along. This was mainly just an update for people so they can say, you know, the project hasn't died, it's still afloat. I just honestly don't have as much time to work on it as what I would like. So I'm doing it in bits and pieces, and I'm sure those who are familiar with the hub are seeing more changes than what I've mentioned. But hopefully next time we'll see the rest of the tunnels, or at least the north and south connections, all fleshed out, and we'll see what's going to go on with these little skinny tunnels over here, because I'd like to keep the water running through. Excuse me. And then, before I forget, I think I want to get the school added in, which for those who've watched the part 1 of the building tutorial on how to add a new area to the project, the space over here is still as I had left it in the video. I have deliberately not done anything with it other than put a little hut down there, but that was a little prefab demo for my brother, so don't expect to see that in the future. But like I said, all the space is all empty where I intended to put the school. I think what I'm actually going to do now is decide how I want it to fit, because the downtown area itself, once we filled this little part in and decided on how we're going to blend the city out into the wilderness, that's downtown more or less sort of complete, and I can start looking at some other areas. So thank you to everybody who's been onto the forum thread and left some positive feedback there. It really does mean a lot when people are enjoying what's to be done, what are the things that I've done, and more importantly, if there's anything you would like to see added, if there's any changes, or I don't know, there's something that you just fancy being put in there. I'm very open to suggestions. Feel free to leave your ideas in the comments, or get us on Steam or on the forums. There's a lot of spots, a lot of places you can go to grab me attention now, and I do read it all and I do listen to everybody's feedback. I mean, we are the ones who are playing in it, so you know, we can push to really get the hub itself, you know, something that everybody can enjoy. It, like I keep saying, it's designed more for it with a PvP server in mind. We'll have a lot more back alleys and sneaky ways to travel about. A lot of groups could exist in this hub, and even though they could be based up and living quite near to each other, it's still, it's, you know, it's not a vanilla city. Everything is totally custom. You cannot just follow the roads and expect to walk out of one city block onto another. You're going to hit dead ends, and you're going to see buildings and bridges and all the other lovely stuff that we have going on here. So like I say, if there's anything that you just want to see added, feel free to jump onto the comments and let us know, and I'll do my best, perhaps pick some of the favourites out to work on straight away. I mean, even if there's any just single prefab ideas that you are after, I suppose I'm open to doing all kinds of stuff really. It's just, we'll see what catches me attention when people start shouting out. So for now, I'm going to leave you with that titillating little teaser, and hopefully we'll see a release in a matter of weeks. I may be pushing it a little bit depending on time, but I will get some sort of release out during Alpha 14, and we'll try and use some more of those sexy new blocks. I keep seeing those curves and just dying to see, you know, what I can use them for, or any excuse to get something round in there. But when we look at the floodgate thing that I've built here, I mean, you know, we do a good job of making curves with straight edges anyway, so I'm just rambling now, but we'll see. So for now, this is Slaan from Northern Land signing out, and this was Project Slaanhatten, the version 0.4 preview, and hopefully we'll get another video out within the next couple of weeks at the least, if we don't get a playable release going. But like I say, hit us up with any ideas or out that you are after seeing, and I'll do my best to try and get them in there. So thank you for all those people who are liking, commenting, subscribing. I appreciate it all, and hopefully we'll get this shared about. You show your friends and we'll get some more subscribers, some more comments, and the more feedback that I get, the more people who want to drop a line, the more I can improve it, because this is mostly just sort of my ideas and messing around and things that I think's cool, but I'm just one person, and I understand totally that, you know, I kind of expect to get everything right and perfect. So the feedback is definitely a big request if you've got the time. And as to not keep this video going on forever, I'm just going to call a stop there, and hopefully catch up with you the next time. Ciao.